What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to a post-Thanksgiving edition of Locked On Badgers. Let's talk about the things to be thankful for with this program on today's show on Wisconsin.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for making this one of your first listens every day. I really do appreciate it. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, I want to talk about, we're coming off Thanksgiving, and I just want to talk about some of the things I'm thankful for with this Wisconsin program: football, basketball, young players stepping up, recruiting classes. What are we thankful for as Badger fans, right? I kind of have a list of my favorite players, favorite plays, favorite performances, just things that I'm grateful that I've been able to experience. And I'm curious what everyone else's lists are. What are you grateful for as a Badger fan? Whether it's people you've met, games you've been to, whatever it is. I want to start with this one. This is maybe the biggest one. Is I'm just grateful for the consistent success. Like, if you've listened to this show for a long time, if you're an everydayer, you know that I'm a Niners fan, I'm a Suns fan, I'm a Braves fan. Well, in the time since I've really got into Badger sports, I'm talking mid-90s, right? That's just where my age, I got into Badgers football, Badgers basketball. And I was lucky. I was starting to follow sports at a time when the Badgers were getting really good. From that point till now, the 49ers have had, I don't know, I've looked it up, 12 losing seasons. They've had some horrific years, horrific stretches of years. They went through a period of like 4 coaches in 4 years. They had just a terrible bottoming out. You know, the Braves had to do a big rebuild. The Suns, my goodness, the Suns were lottery bound in the NBA for 10 straight years. I was more excited about the lottery draft every year as a Suns fan than the regular season. And just through all of that, through the ups and downs of all my other teams, right, the Badgers were always just good. And I used to tell my buddy who didn't have any consistently good teams, he's like a Jets fan, and I'm just like, the Badgers are always there for me. Like, no matter what my other teams are doing, and some of my other teams had higher highs than maybe the Badgers did, but much lower lows. No matter what my other teams are doing, the Badgers were always just good. They were always good. They were always there for me in terms of I knew every single year, football and basketball, I would have a good team to root for and occasionally a great team, but never a bad team. Never a bad team, right? The Badgers haven't had a losing season in football since 2001. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. And it's so easy to lose sight of that. It's so easy to have a losing year, to go 5-7. I mean, we saw it this year. It could have happened this year, right? That's what Nebraska's fighting to not be. That's what Minnesota is fighting to not be. It's so incredibly easy to do that in college football. Just once over a 20-something year period. You know, Wisconsin's been to what? 21 straight bowl games, or is it 22? 22 now with this one, I believe. It's the third longest streak in the country. I mean, think about the college football powers out there. Bama, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame, USC, et cetera, et cetera. Wisconsin's got the third longest bowl active streak. And I get it. Some of those bowls aren't that big a deal, but they're all bowls. That means you've had a winning year every year. It has always been just this awesome comfort blankie for me as a fan, or whatever you want to call it. Like, the Badgers have always been good. I've never had to stress it. Sure, the basketball team has missed a couple March Madness tournaments in the last 20 years. That's still incredible consistency. There's not a more consistent combined football and basketball program in the country than Badgers football and basketball, period. There's not. I've looked at it. I've tried to figure out one. Now, there's programs that have had higher highs, right? Like Ohio State, at times, their basketball team has been a little better. Their football team's been great. Florida had a period where both their programs were winning titles, but then they fell off dramatically. Like, Wisconsin has been good to really good basically for the last 20 years in football and basketball. It's unheard of. And that's what I'm most thankful for as a Badger fan, is just the consistent success. And it's so easy with that consistent success to lose sight of how hard it is to have success, right? To start to build up expectations to a point where consistent success isn't enough. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Like, I'm not here to say it's wrong, but I am here to say it's always been a huge part of my fandom is having good Wisconsin teams. And I don't want to lose sight of that, because it's really easy to not have that. That's what Nebraska had forever until they didn't, and they haven't been able to figure it back out. So having a winning season, even if it isn't, 10, 11 wins, it's a big deal. It matters. And that to me is the number one thing I'm most thankful for as a Badger fan, is the consistent winning success, and always being able to count on that. So that's the first thing I want to talk about today. Let me know again, what are you most thankful for as a Badger fan? For me, it's been that. It's been growing up a fan of incredibly successful winning teams and not really having to stress it. It's been incredible. It's been awesome. Let me give you one more before we kind of switch into some more specific stuff. I'm grateful for the 24 football recruiting class. Some of these, listen, this is all in different orders. This isn't even really ranked. These are just things I'm grateful for. The 24 football recruiting class, I think it's loaded. I think Fickle came in, and what have we heard about Fickle from before he got here, right? Developer of talent, identifier of talent. He's going to find his guys. He's going to find the fits. This class is really good. It's full of great fits. They got 5 offensive linemen coming in. I know Justin and I have talked about Emerson Mandel. We love his film, The Kid Out of Minnesota. He just got a bump from On 3, by the way. He's basically a 4-star. Kevin Haywood's a big-time dude. I love Corey on the offensive line. You got running backs. All 3 running backs are studs, right? Jones, Atuka, and Dupree. Those are all studs. I'm telling you, I've said this for a while, but I've heard this from people that are more connected than I am. They really like Atuka, and Jones and Dupree are studs. I mean, Jones could play anywhere. Dupree is an athletic force of nature. The secondary group is so good in this class with Agard kind of leading that group, but it is such a good secondary group. Xavier Lucas is in that. I love Raphael Dunn, Lafayette, Kyan Barry Johnson, Mabry Metzhoyer, Grant Steck is a 4-star tight end. It's a really good class for Wisconsin to start building the blocks that Fickle's going to need to kind of turn this thing back around and get it back on the right kind of railroad track. So I'm grateful for that 2024 football class. I'm grateful for the young pieces that stepped up on this team this year. Now, again, this wasn't the year that we had kind of hoped it would be, but I'm grateful for Austin Brown getting playing time. Like, I'm excited to see him. Grateful is the wrong word, but like, what am I excited about? It's Austin Brown getting playing time this year and looking really good. I think he's a piece. Christian Allegro, right? It's some of those young pieces that we've seen get playing time this year that I think are potential building blocks in the future. So I'm excited about that. Rico Hallman, he's going to be a big part of the secondary next year. That's another thing I'm thankful for going into next year. We're going to continue this, talk a little bit about basketball. What other things are you thankful for as a Badger fan? Get into some of my favorite players, biggest plays, biggest moments. Let's talk about just some gratitude. It is Thanksgiving. What are we thankful for as Badger fans? But first, I'm going to take a quick break for our friends of the show over at eBay Motors. Listen, eBay Motors is the place you need to go to for all of your parts, for all of your car needs to keep your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits. It's all there. LED headlights, rims, whatever you need. Over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, listen, it's so hard for a non-car guy to find car parts, right? You go to the local shop and you tell him what you need, and he's like, is it a V5, 7, 10? You're like, dude, I don't know. I'm not a car guy. eBay Motors takes care of all of that. It's simple. It's easy. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive with ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions to apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's keep this going. Let's continue talking. Let's continue talking about our Thanksgiving thankful list for Badgers, right? For what are we thankful for as Badger fans? I mentioned some of the young players stepping up. I think that's huge. Again, this is not the year we expected, but you look at some of the young guys having playing time, getting reps this year that are going to be a big part of next year. Even as simple as Tretch Kekahuna getting some reps on special teams, but Christian Allegro is going to be a starter next year. He's been athletically, to me, like a revelation. So he's going to play. That's exciting to me. Austin Brown. And then some of the other guys that stepped up this year coming in, Rico Hallman. There's a stalwart in the secondary for next year. I feel good about our kicker for the next 2 years with Nathaniel Vakos. Will Pauling coming back next year. That's immediately your best receiver and a guy who stepped up in the slot. So there are pieces that have emerged this year. Then there's got to be a lot more, but there's pieces that have emerged that I think get you excited about what this team can be going forward. The quarterback room is another one for me. You're talking, and again, it's more about seeing this staff be able to put together a lot of high pedigree guys. It gives me confidence that they're gonna hit on people. Nick Evers, Burkett, Mabry, Locke, LaCrue. They got the younger lot coming in. There's multiple 4-star guys in this room. I feel like that is the only way you can succeed in college football is you stack talent in the quarterback room and you find someone will stick out. Somebody will. The old saying, you just keep throwing stuff at the wall until something sticks. That's what you got to do in quarterback recruiting. And the staff has shown that they can stack talent in the room. So that to me is interesting and exciting, something to be thankful for going forward. I'm thankful for the end of the Big Ten West. I know that people don't like that opinion. Some people don't like that opinion. I don't want to say everybody because people are freaked, right? The Big Ten West was the easy lane, right? The easy button, the Staples easy button to the Big Ten title game. But I'm just tired of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of playing in the shallow pool, quite frankly, and not even always winning the shallow pool. I'm sick of it. Like there's no upside. It's like when you go to a BCS game, an old BCS game. Sorry, I'm dating myself, but you would go play a team like Western Michigan, right? This is apropos for Wisconsin fans, and you beat them, and it's like, you don't get credit for beating them because it's not a real team. And if you lose to them, people lose their minds because you lost to Western Michigan. That's what the Big Ten West has become. If you win it, nobody really cares because you only won it because you're in the West. And if you lose it, people are like, oh my gosh, you can't win the West. This is ridiculous. What kind of program are you? Like, I'm just sick of the narrative behind it. I'm sick of feeling like we're playing in the junior leagues, which we are. I'm sick of it. I'm ready to drop that narrative, drop the comical comical annotations along with this. I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, but I'm sick of it. I'm done with this. So I am grateful to be done with the Big Ten West, put that chapter behind us and move into the new era of Big Ten football where our schedules are going to be loaded, but so is everyone else's. Everyone's schedules are going to be loaded. It's not just Wisconsin. Everybody's going to have to fight through this murderer's row of Big Ten slates that to me, it's going to be more exciting. And there's going to be 5 or 6 games every year for Wisconsin that are going to be, you got to tune into this. How many must tune into games this year have there been? I'll pause there. Think about it. How many games this year before the game you were so hyped up? You're like, I cannot miss this game. I know my daughter's getting married and my son is stranded on the side of the road. His engine blew up, but I'm sorry, I can't miss this kickoff. How many games were there like that? Ohio State? Right? Anything else? I mean, the opener probably because everyone was so excited about the start of this new regime. Maybe Minnesota this weekend. Maybe Iowa. I mean, and those are like maybes. Like next year is going to be 5 of those games, 4 of those games. So I am incredibly thankful to be done with this nonsense that is the Big Ten West. And yes, Wisconsin has played a part in that. Wisconsin not being good has played into that narrative as well. I understand that. We're as much of a problem as anyone else right now in the Big Ten West, but I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. I'm ready to move on from it. I am ready. So ready. All right. Here's the next one I'm excited about. I'm excited about year 2. I'm thankful that we got past the first year of Fickell, right? I think we oversold it. Expectations. I get that. I'm just thankful we're kind of done with this year, right? We're ready to move on. Let's regroup in the offseason. I'm very excited to see. I think Fickell has a better feel for it now. I think the staff has a better feel for it. So I'm excited to see where that goes in this offseason. I'm thankful that we're done with this season, ready to move on to the next one. I'm going to shift into some basketball for a second. I'm thankful for the freshmen this year. Blackwell and Winter. And by the way, I'm not done. I haven't given up on Gus Yalden yet either. Gus Yalden's got skills. He's got to figure out some of the priorities. But if he can do that, he's going to be the same player we thought he would be, which is a very skilled big forward that can shoot, pass, and make plays around the rim. But Blackwell and Winter, oh man, I am so thankful. Like these dudes, Blackwell, I've talked about ad nauseum. He might, by the end of the year, he could be the best player on the team. The skill set he brings is so unique that it's hard to comp him to a past Badger. I'm not sure if you can. Again, we've had Badger fans try, people in the chat try. Nobody has really found one that I think matches up because he is such a unique player for Wisconsin to get. He looks like an NBA guy, future NBA guy, a future all-conference guy. And for him to come in as a 3-star and really exceed all expectations right out of the chute, imagine the growth curve here. If he continues to improving and growing over the course of 2 or 3 years, the sky's the limit for Blackwell. Now, it's going to get harder, right? Teams are going to start scouting for him. It doesn't get easier necessarily, but he's also going to continue growing and learning, and year after year is going to get stronger. And then Nolan Winter has some issues like with defensive rotations, defensive awareness, things like that. He's got to get a little stronger, but he moves really well. He looks like he belongs. So this freshman class is really good. And again, I'm not counting out Gus Yalden. And then Daniel Freitag coming down the pipe. That is a big-time athlete at guard. And now you start to put the Jenga pieces together. I shouldn't use Jenga, actually, because Jenga falls apart. You start to put the puzzle pieces together, right? And you start to think of lineups that could have, Stephen Crowell, a Daniel Freitag, a Chucky Hepburn, a Max Klesmit, an AJ Storr, a John Blackwell, a Nolan Winter. I mean, it starts to get kind of fun if it can all get together. Now, it never works perfectly. It never works completely like you think it could, but it really starts to get kind of fun when you put those pieces together. So I'm excited for it, man. I think this team this year is a lot more exciting. I think we're going to score a little bit better. We've already shown that. It's just a much more appealing brand of basketball to watch with Blackwell and Storr on the court and the pieces around him elevating a little bit. But you start looking forward a year or two and you start to think, okay, if they can add another athlete in the front court, and some of these guys can continue to grow, this could be a really good team, like a really, really good team. So something to keep your eye out on. So definitely something I'm excited about as a Badger fan. We're going to take a quick break there, and I'm going to talk about some of the bigger picture things I'm excited about, thankful about as a Badger fan. Some of my favorite performances, favorite players, games you've been to. I want your thoughts on what are your favorite moments as a Badger fan? What are you thankful for? That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Gametime. Gametime is your number one source for buying all of your tickets, buying everything you need to sporting events, theaters, concerts, whatever it is. Go get it on Gametime. Flash deals, last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views so you know exactly what it looks like before you buy the ticket. You know what the court's going to look like. That's what Gametime's there for. Get images of the seat before you buy. Plus, with flash sales, you get the very best ticket prices, and you don't have to plan months in advance. You don't have to worry about the logistics. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's finish off here. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody tuning in. Maybe I'll start there with things I'm thankful for. This is the Thanksgiving episode. We've done over 600 episodes now on YouTube. This show started, the first couple shows we did had 15 viewers, 30 viewers, maybe a comment. And it's grown now to, where we regularly do live shows and get thousands of viewers and thousands of downloads on audio, hundreds of comments. The Discord's incredible. We have people commenting all the time. We have live game chats. We've had meetups, over 600 videos on YouTube. And it's incredible. And I'm so thankful for that. And it's all a reflection of the guests that we have on, the people in the community. It's really met the goal that I always had, was just building a community for Badger fans. And it means a lot to me, like more than I can probably express, to be able to get up here and just talk about the Badgers and say things and people interact and we have a great time. And we can, I think, create an area where conversations, and we all get smarter about Wisconsin athletics and we all share our opinions and our views. So thank you for that. I am so beyond stoked. There is a lot coming up, like some stuff I can't really talk about yet, but just wait. I continue to hope to grow this thing, and with all your support and collaboration, I hope we do. All right. Other things we're grateful for here. 408, the single most dominant rushing game I think I've ever seen. Melvin Gordon. I will always be grateful just to have seen that game, watched it live. It was incredible, right? And if you remember, that game started off and it was Gordon fumbled, right? And it didn't start off clean. And then he hit that that rush down the sideline where he hurdled the defender. And from that point on, he was just he was another being. He was a higher life form on that field. It was absolutely insane. And God, if Nebraska could have kept that game close, Melvin Gordon would have ran for 500 yards. That's how good he was that day. And, of course, his record falls the next week in a BS game against a BS team. But 408 at night in the snow against Nebraska, unbelievable. Frank Kaminsky in those two Final Four runs, some of my favorite moments as a fan of any team, of any of my teams, was watching those games. You remember those Arizona games, right, in the Elite Eight? those incredible Arizona games, both of them, the 2 years. You remember the beating 40-0 Kentucky and that absolute loaded team. There's like 6 NBAers on that team. Decker went nuts in that one. Those 2 teams were so incredible, unbelievably talented, and the epicenter of that was Frank Kaminsky, a guy who was a 3-star recruit. A guy that Bo Ryan identified and this team developed, and he became just this funky, weird future lottery pick. He looked like a Wisconsin guy, right? And those teams were just so much fun, absolutely incredible. So always be grateful for that. Chris Borland. These, by the way, these are just random. I just kind of wrote them down in random order, which I think is kind of fun. Chris Borland is my favorite Badger football player. I loved Chris Borland, at least defensively. I remember when he first came on campus, they put him as a pass rusher, and he was this like little ball of energy. And he was up against Minnesota in one of the towards the end of that game that year. Minnesota had this 370-pound offensive tackle. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but Borland just whipped him, like gave him a spin move. They couldn't stop this little ball of energy from Ohio. This 3-star linebacker with short arms and 5'10". He was incredible though. Kicking extra points, tackles everywhere, hitting people, forcing fumbles, interceptions. That play against Ohio State near the goal line when he stands up Carlos Hyde. He did it twice in that game. Just a monster. By the way, went to the NFL 3rd-round pick. Had a great year and obviously hung up football, but he would have been a stud in the NFL too. One of my all-time favorite Badgers. I think my favorite defensive Badger, Chris Borland. Definitely grateful for seeing 3-sack Jack, for seeing obviously Ron Dane, the great Dane, and what he did in Madison. Lee Evans, right? That 5-touchdown game against Michigan State, 1st-round pick. How about that Big Ten championship game? Jeff Duckworth, that play. I was grateful, always grateful for watching that and seeing that. And then just the great running backs, right? James White, Clement, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, there's just so many great players that have gone through Wisconsin. And just, again, as a fan, I'm grateful to have been a part of it, grateful to have seen it. Michael Finley, Devin Harris. Finley went on to play for my Phoenix Suns. Devin Harris, obviously, had a long NBA career. It's been good. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing about a Badger fan. If you want to sum up, and I'm not as old as some fans, I'm older than others, whatever. But if you want to sum up my 20-ish, 30-ish years as a Badger fan, it's been good. And I'm grateful for that. Now, I hope it continues to be good. I think Fickle's the guy. Guard has to continue. Like, guard, I'm not on the fire guard train. Everybody knows that. But there's work he needs to do. But I think Wisconsin athletics is in a good spot with McIntosh. I'm grateful for everything we've seen up to this point. Let me know in the comments, what are you grateful for as a Badger fan? What are you grateful to have seen? Your favorite games you've been to, the people you've met, the communities that we have, whatever it is. What are you grateful for as a Badger fan? I hope everyone had an incredible Thanksgiving. Lots of content coming up on Wisconsin. Let's get the axe. Let's go.